Have you ever met a woman who seems to have it all? Intelligence, kindness, maybe even beauty, yet, for some reason, she's always overlooked? In love, she's the one men admire but never pursue. At work, her contributions go unnoticed. Even in friendships, she's reliable but rarely the first choice. If this sounds familiar, whether it's you or someone you know, the answer isn't in what she's doing wrong on the surface. It's buried deep in the unconscious mind, in patterns she doesn't even realize are shaping her life. This isn't about superficial fixes. It's about something far more powerful, the hidden psychological forces that dictate why some women are perpetually passed over, and more importantly, how to break free from it. Carl Jung, the groundbreaking psychologist who uncovered the secrets of the unconscious, revealed exactly why this happens. The reason isn't fate, luck, or even other people's choices. It's an invisible script running in the background, and once you understand it, everything changes. Carl Jung spent his life studying the unconscious, the part of our minds that holds our deepest fears, unmet desires, and unhealed wounds. He discovered that what we believe about ourselves, often without even realizing it, shapes how others treat us. If a woman has ever felt invisible, unchosen, or like she's always on the sidelines, Jung would say it's not an accident. It's a mirror. The world reflects back the unconscious stories we carry, stories of unworthiness, stories of being too much or not enough, stories we inherited long before we knew how to question them. Today, we're diving into Jung's most revealing insights about why some women are never chosen, not just in romance, but in career, friendships, and life. We'll uncover the 4 hidden psychological patterns that keep this cycle going and, most importantly, how to rewrite them. Because the truth is, being chosen starts long before anyone else decides. It starts within. 1. The invisible woman archetype. Some women move through life like ghosts, present but unseen, speaking but unheard, standing in plain sight yet somehow overlooked. This phenomenon isn't simply about shyness or introversion. It's rooted in what Jung would recognize as an unconscious identification with the invisible woman archetype. These women often fade into the background not by conscious choice, but because their psyche has internalized an identity that equates safety with staying unnoticed. The origins of this pattern typically trace back to childhood, where they may have learned that love and approval were conditional on being quiet, compliant, or undemanding. Perhaps they were praised for never causing trouble, or worse, ignored unless they made themselves small. Over time, this conditioning hardens into an unconscious belief. To be seen is to be unsafe. To be noticed is to risk rejection. The tragic irony of the invisible woman archetype is that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more a woman unconsciously signals, "Don't notice me," the more the world obliges. In relationships, she might be the cool girl who never expresses needs, or the reliable friend who listens but never shares her own struggles. Professionally, she downplays her accomplishments, hesitates to speak in meetings, or deflects praise with self-deprecation. The underlying message she broadcasts isn't humility, it's "I don't belong here." And because the collective unconscious operates like a mirror, others reflect this belief back to her, perpetuating the cycle of being overlooked. Breaking free requires recognizing how this archetype operates, then consciously rewriting the narrative, not by forcing extroversion, but by dismantling the fear that visibility equals danger. 2. The mother projection. There's a particular kind of loneliness experienced by women who give endlessly yet remain unchosen, the ones who pour love, care, and energy into others, only to watch partners or friends eventually pull away. Jung's concept of the Great Mother archetype explains this painful dynamic. When a woman unconsciously over-identifies with the nurturing, all-giving aspects of the mother, without boundaries or reciprocity, she risks becoming less of a romantic partner and more of a psychological symbol. The men, or partners, drawn to her often don't want an equal. They crave the unconditional love of a mother figure, which inevitably leads to resentment, regression, or flight. This pattern repels genuine connection because it lacks the tension necessary for adult relationships. A partner who feels mothered may initially bask in the comfort, but over time, they'll either rebel against the dynamic, like a teenager chafing under parental control, or become passive and dependent, neither of which fosters attraction. The woman stuck in this archetype often has a deep fear of being selfish, equating love with self-sacrifice. She might prioritize fixing others' problems over cultivating her own desires, or she'll tolerate emotional unavailability because he needs her. The way out isn't to reject nurturing qualities, but to balance them with healthy self-interest. As Jung warned, archetypes are meant to be aspects of our personality, not prisons, and recognizing the difference is the first step toward being chosen for who she is, not just what she provides. 3. The Animus possession. Modern culture often celebrates the strong, independent woman as an ideal, but Jung's theory of the Animus, the inner masculine, reveals a hidden cost when this energy becomes dominant. Animus possession occurs when a woman's unconscious masculine side takes over her conscious personality, leading to hyper-independence, emotional detachment, or relentless competitiveness. On the surface, she appears powerful and self-sufficient, but this very strength can become the reason she remains alone. The men, or partners, who approach her often fall into two categories: those who admire her strength but don't truly see her, and those who feel emasculated by her unyielding autonomy. Jung's key insight here is about balance, not regression. A woman possessed by her animus may pride herself on not needing anyone, but this stance often masks a buried fear of vulnerability. She might intellectualize emotions, dismiss romance as frivolous, or equate interdependence with weakness. The irony? Her defiant independence can attract partners who confirm her deepest belief that she's only valued for what she does, not who she is. As Jungian analyst Marion Woodman observed, a woman who doesn't need a man will often attract men who don't truly want her. The path forward involves integrating the animus rather than being ruled by it, allowing strength to coexist with softness, and independence to make room for intimacy without fear of losing oneself. 4. The shadow of unworthiness. The most insidious reason women remain unchosen lives in what Jung called the shadow, the hidden part of the psyche that stores everything we deny about ourselves. For many women, the shadow contains beliefs like, "I'm unlovable," "I don't deserve good things," or "love must be earned." These beliefs don't announce themselves openly, they operate underground, manifesting as subtle self-sabotage. She might date emotionally unavailable partners, downplay her achievements to avoid envy, or settle for breadcrumbs in relationships, all while telling herself she's being realistic. Shadow work, Jung's method for confronting these repressed parts, reveals the cruel trick the unconscious plays. We reject ourselves before others can, then interpret their rejection as proof we were right all along. A woman who believes she's unworthy will unconsciously test partners, pushing them away to confirm her core belief. Or she'll choose people who mirror her shadow back to her, those who can't commit, who criticize her, or who treat her as an option. The solution isn't positive affirmations, but ruthless honesty. As Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." To break the cycle, she must face the shadow not as an enemy, but as a disowned part of herself begging to be reclaimed, and in doing so, change the story she's been silently telling the world all along. The journey from being perpetually overlooked to becoming fully seen and chosen begins with courageous self-examination. The The first and most vital step requires turning inward with radical honesty to identify which unconscious archetype has been running the show. This isn't about self-blame, but about bringing what's been operating in the shadows into the light of awareness. A powerful way to start is through journaling exercises that reveal hidden patterns. Try asking yourself, when do I make myself small? What situations trigger me to disappear? What was I taught about being visible as a child? These questions often uncover startling connections between past conditioning and present behavior. The woman who recognizes she's been playing the invisible woman, for instance, might recall how she learned to equate silence with safety when her childhood emotions were dismissed. This realization creates the first crack in the armor, allowing her to separate her true self from the survival strategy she once needed. Once awareness dawns, the next phase involves restoring balance to the psyche through what Jung called individuation, the process of integrating all aspects of oneself. For women stuck in the mother archetype, this means reclaiming the right to receive as much as they give. Those possessed by the Animus must learn to soften their defenses without fearing loss of autonomy. This rebalancing act requires patience, as years of overcompensation won't dissolve overnight. Practical steps might include setting small but firm boundaries for chronic caretakers, or allowing vulnerability in safe doses for hyper-independent types. The key lies in recognizing that wholeness isn't about rejecting certain traits, but about bringing them into harmonious relationship. A woman who has spent years in masculine-driven achievement might explore creative pursuits that reconnect her with flow rather than force. Another who has hidden behind nurturing might practice saying no to rediscover her own desires beneath the layers of people-pleasing. With this foundation of awareness and balance established, the transformative work of rewriting one's self-concept can begin. Cognitive reframing becomes essential here, not as empty affirmations, but as conscious challenges to deeply held beliefs. When a woman has spent years broadcasting unworthiness, she must learn to project a new frequency. This starts with small but powerful declarations like, "I am chosen because I choose myself first," which may feel foreign at first but gradually rewire neural pathways. The magic happens when these cognitive shifts are paired with embodied experiences, accepting a compliment without deflection, speaking up in a meeting despite discomfort, or ending relationships that confirm old stories of unworthiness. Each of these actions serves as a rebellion against the unconscious scripts, proving to the psyche that new outcomes are possible when we dare to show up differently. Jung's powerful technique of active imagination provides the final tool for cementing these transformations at the deepest levels of the psyche. Unlike passive daydreaming, this practice involves consciously engaging with the unconscious through dialogue and visualization. A woman might imagine sitting across from her younger self to offer the protection and validation she once lacked. Another could confront her inner critic in this liminal space, demanding to know whose voice she's really hearing. Through these encounters, long-held traumas and false beliefs can be witnessed, processed, and ultimately released. The process creates what Jung called a bridge between the conscious and unconscious, allowing women to literally reimagine their place in the world. When practiced consistently, active imagination doesn't just change thoughts. It rewires the very architecture of the unconscious mind, ensuring that new patterns don't just remain surface-level changes but become authentic expressions of a transformed self. The woman who once made herself small now occupies space unapologetically. The chronic caretaker learns to receive love as effortlessly as she gives it. The hyper-independent woman discovers strength in surrender. And in this wholeness, she becomes undeniable, not because she demands to be chosen, but because she's finally chosen herself. The journey we've explored today reveals a profound psychological truth. Being chosen by others always begins with how we unconsciously choose, or neglect, ourselves. Carl Jung's wisdom reminds us that we cannot expect the world to recognize our worth if we haven't first claimed it in the hidden chambers of our own psyche. The patterns of invisibility, overgiving, hyperindependence, or unworthiness aren't life sentences, they're invitations to go inward and heal the fractured parts of ourselves. When we do this courageous work, something remarkable happens. We stop trying to convince others of our value and simply embody it so completely that the right people and opportunities can't help but take notice. This transformation isn't about changing who you are, but returning to who you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning and unconscious beliefs. Every woman carries within her an essential, undeniable worth that doesn't need to be earned or proven. The archetypes we've examined today aren't enemies to defeat, but teachers showing us where we've abandoned ourselves. When you make peace with these shadow aspects and integrate them consciously, you stop repelling love and success through unseen psychological barriers. Instead, you become a magnet for relationships and experiences that reflect your true, unfragmented self. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these archetypes resonated most with your experience? Was it the invisible woman, the mother projection, the animus possession, or the shadow of unworthiness? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insight might help another woman recognize her own patterns. If this exploration of Jungian psychology spoke to you, consider subscribing for more deep dives into how ancient wisdom can transform modern lives. And if you're ready to continue this journey, don't miss my next video, The Dark Side of the Feminine, Jung's Warning for Modern Women, where we'll uncover how even our strengths can become traps when taken to extremes. Remember, the world doesn't choose you. You show the world how to choose you by how you choose yourself. Until next time, keep exploring the depths.